Welcome to Angry Me Production. Today we're going to talk about aliens. We have Kenny Northrup, and we still have Michael. He's still here. But what we're going off is a couple of months ago, there is a report that the government actually saying that we had a UFO encounter by the Navy. It was this encounter actually happened on February 13th, 2019. Hold on. And there we go. And what had happened is the Navy vessel documented and shown that there was a UFO that they couldn't explain. UFO is just unidentified flying object. They just didn't know what it was, and most people actually believe it was an alien encounter. We in our lifetime, there's always been, I mean, each year you have maybe about 3 or 4 cases of an alien, either abduction or sighting. And this is the first alien abduction was the Hills in, what was it, 1944?
It was, I don't really know the year. It was Betty and Barney Hill, I think in the 60s, 50s, late 50s.
Late 50s.
But yeah, you know, back to what I was saying though. People don't realize that, like I said, if an alien spacecraft traveling at a speed capable of reaching us from outside of our universe were to come into our universe and even just fall into Earth's orbit so that they could eventually line up with us, it would cause catastrophic things on here on Earth, like tidal waves and earthquakes.
Well, that's something that we don't even know, because we actually just for the actual fuel and everything, they didn't know what they had at one point. Yeah, fuel source. It was some kind of like graviton type thing, and they just now found the fuel source that'll actually do that.
But that's just it. When you speak on thermodynamics or physics, you have to factor in all of these things, and what you really come to is that, you know, if you take a ship the size of the shuttle and you were to accelerate it at a speed anywhere near close enough to the speed of light to get a living sentient being here within a reasonable amount of time, the effects of them slowing down on coming here, not only that, but other factors that come into play with alignment and momentum of travel and things like that, their gravitational force on its own, just from them entering in, because their mass would increase as they accelerated.
Only if you use a propelling system, not if they're falling through space. Basically, if you're falling through space and using your own gravity field, what you're doing is you're just opening up a hole underneath it. You're not disrupting anything.
Well,
and it's and you also got to look at the factor of
the camera.
fuck.
You got good audio.
Yeah, we got good audio.
But you know,
But if it was to,
even
Hold
if,
on,
even,
stop. Oh.
and only information I'm going on is the shit that I've looked up would be Bob Lazar and the way that he explained it from Area 51. All these other.
Well, you have to realize that a lot of these people that are trying to explain all of this stuff, they're not looking at the entire picture. They're only seeing what they want to see, and they're discarding the rest of the evidence that points away from it.
If interstellar space travel is possible, sure.
Well,
but I don't think that anything can move at that rate without
there's also
creating its own field.
You're correct in a lot of aspects. I mean, seriously, the closer to the speed of light you push an object, the heavier its mass, or the larger its mass is going to.
Guys, stop talking. Because we're gonna have to go over it again.
We're just gonna have to start all over again at this rate because he's got to fix whatever's going wrong with his buggy machine.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna.
But I don't think that we did. I don't think that we come from another star system, and I don't think that.
Okay, we should be good. Hopefully. If anything, I'll take the mics off and we'll just do it by the mic on the.
But there are several different proposable methods whereby, yes, a spaceship could traverse those distances. Now, all of them have the same flaw, except for perhaps warp travel. But even when you figure in warp travel, you're still disturbing the space in between those 2 points in order to move a ship without moving it. Plus, the amount of energy it would require. And I don't care what kind of new energy sources we're talking about here. You're now talking about a massive ship. Because in order to accumulate
Like
the
the
amount... You're now talking about something that would have to be able to accumulate enough energy to literally bend space and time so that it could shift across that
What
gap.
if it just poked a hole and fell through it? I think that would be more plausible.
Well, then
Yeah.
you're talking about fourth dimensional
Or
space.
just creating your own gravity, like I was saying before.
Well,
it's opening a hole and falling through it.
But that doesn't really work that way. Okay, take it like
None of this really works that way. It's all
Yeah.
speculative.
take it like this. You've got your two-dimensional space. That would be like drawing your stick man on a piece of paper, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, you put a ball on top of that piece of paper, and the stick man in his world wouldn't be able to see the ball. Now, if you were to physically push that ball through that piece of paper,
You're just
The-
bending the paper, and it's not putting it into the. You're
Well,
not putting
no,
the
I'm
ball
saying
into the piece of paper.
if you were to take and cut a hole in the paper and push the ball physically through the piece of paper, then the stick man wouldn't see a ball coming through the piece of paper. He would see a large anomalous mass sinking
Fuck
down
would you
into
see
its
if you was a
world.
stick man?
Yeah, that would be.
Just like a wall.
Right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see a ball coming down through your world. You would see just this giant wall that materialized out
Or
of
if it
nothing.
was so big, you wouldn't be able to fathom what you were seeing to begin with.
Now, what you're proposing, it would be entering fourth
I'm not
dimensional
proposing anything.
space.
All I'm proposing is what I've studied from the people that claim to have worked at Area 51: Bob Lazar, Bill Uhouse, and Phil Snyder.
And I'm saying that based on current understanding of math and physics, that it's wrong because you
Well,
can't
what-
just
what
poke
about-
a hole in space and fall through. If you poke a hole in space, you're either going to go to the two-dimensional or the four-dimensional because we
Well,
live
you
in
can
the
control it.
three-dimensional space.
What if we have to invent new math to actually?
They
do
wouldn't. They wouldn't even
that?
acknowledge.
Because okay, think about it this way: if you actually do have a ship that can do that,
Math is nothing more than a language used to describe the way our universe works.
well, what if we
So-
don't have the language we had that at this point in time? It took us forever to come up with a good physics.
Well, this is true, but most of our math and physics is based on what we've observed.
Numbers and waves.
And what we've observed argues the opposite of all of these theories.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it is not impossible. I'm saying that it is very, very, the possibility is so astronomically low that is a possibility that anyone who's proposing it as a possibility really needs to readjust their way of thinking.
Or maybe you should broaden yours.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, because really, you're talking about a two-dimensional plane of thought.
Mm.
We're talking about something that we don't understand because it hasn't entered our school of thought.
But that's just it.
If you just asked yourself, what if?
We're proposing things like
Get off.
where did the universe come from and things like that. There have been people who've been studying this for a very, very, very long time.
Looking at it at a view of a glimpse of something that you have no perception of the
And
expanse of the systems.
they're
Yeah.
forming mathematical formulas, and the ability of these mathematical formulas to predict outcomes is what shows whether or not they're worthy of being used. Now, so far, the mathematical formulas that we've got that are functional are capable of predicting outcomes. In other words, they work to the degree that we can say, okay, we don't know what is here, but we can predict that this, and this is going to occur based on this mathematical formula, and that comes to happen, which generally indicates that the mathematical formula is a functioning and working one. Kind of like saying, I'm going to launch this rocket, and I've got this mathematical formula that tells me how much propellant I need to use for the amount of weight that my rocket has.
How I'm going to get there and how I can get home. It's all numbers. Crunched
Right.
in science.
Now, as long as said numbers work properly, that rocket does what you intended it to do. Now, that is proof that the mathematical theorem is correct when the rocket does what it was predicted to do. When the rocket does not do what it was predicted to do, then you need to rearrange and revisit your math to find out where your math was wrong. Because, yes, math is a language used to describe the way we see the world and the universe, but that doesn't necessarily mean we do have all of the correct words, or however you would want to say it as far as language is concerned. There are a lot of things we don't completely grasp. But from what we have grasped and what the math shows us is that there are multiple planes, and those planes are, as would be following, we don't technically see things in 2 dimensions. We observe the world in a 3-dimensional plane, as in we interact with it as such. But they're theorizing that there are 4th and 5th dimensional planes. Now, if you're talking about poking a hole in space, you're actually talking about poking a hole into one of those other planes.
Now you're getting into theoretical physics.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at.
Are you saying that anti-gravity is possible?
Yes, I believe anti-gravity is possible.
Is it mathematical?
It is mathematical because...
Is time travel possible?
No.
Is time travel mathematical?
It would be, but
If you could come up with the numbers for it. Time travel is not possible unless you shot forward in time. Which would be instant for you, but...
That theoretically, they say that if you built the right machine, you could technically get on and then get off at any point in time during which the machine had been started. Me, personally, I don't believe that to be the case because I've studied enough of the nuances of things to believe that time itself is a 2-directional flow.
One.
They've also
Outward.
they've also shown in a lab that time can be a 2-directional flow.
I've yet to see any evidence that it can be reversed or slowed down.
They've shown that there is a specific, it's a quark or something to that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they've shown in a lab that there is a specific unit that travels backwards through time.
Tachyon fields.
Now, that
Back
being the
into
case,
theoretical
it
physics.
proves
Yeah.
no, that's not theoretical.
It's
that's
all theoretical.
They've shown that to exist with particle accelerators. That's no longer theoretical. It has been proven.
No, it's all theoretical. You're
What-
still
what-
talking
what-
about theoretical physics. Proteons and tachyons, they're all theoretical. There's no evidence other than the mathematics behind it that says they exist.
Well, then,
That's
Hold
it.
on.
It's all mathematical, based on ideas.
You're missing what I'm trying
No,
to
I
say.
hear what you're saying.
Oh, guys, hold on.
If you take Einstein's, do I still need to hold on?
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to verify
possible.
something that I've stated, but it.
It's because right now it's still a concept.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is they've shown in a lab that there are specific particles that they can track and follow that travel backwards in the flow of time.
How
And
can you
when-
measure that? Because we can't go back and see its numbers. You can degress something and you can progress something, but
I
you can't.
do not know the exact method by which they
We can't go back in time
tracked
and
it or
recalculate it.
shown it, but I do know that they've released a
In
paper.
my opinion, it's all pseudoscience. It's all horseshit. But based on decent mathematics.
Well, then let me ask you. If it was all pseudoscience, how does your TV work? How does your cell phone
That's
work?
pure fucking science.
Because it's all based on that
It's
same...
all ones and zeros, electric signals and waves.
It's all based on that pseudoscience. Your computer would not be possible without the math and that, what you're calling pseudoscience, that made
I'm
it
talking
possible.
about time travel as pseudoscience. Everything else is physical science. It's
But that's what
lateral
I'm
science.
saying.
It is
Those
Okay. In January 2020, astrophysicist Ronald Mallet proposed a theoretical way of building a time machine, with limitations based on general relativity. So it's still theory.
That is still theory. What I'm talking about, though, is not. I'm talking about the specific particle that they've shown to travel backwards. Like I said, I don't know
Tachyons.
I don't know the exact means or method which they've
No.
proven
It's okay. What you're talking about is when they actually did the collider in Sweden. They found a particle which they theorized, which was tachyon. The tachyon particle has the ability to move faster than the speed of light, and it in theory, it should be able to have a proposal to go actually.
What I
make
was saying
time travel.
is last year,
And we're actually getting off the subject of what
what we started.
the abductions and everything.
But what I'm saying is I don't believe that time is a one-directional road, because they have shown in a lab that it's not. Now, that being the case, do I believe we or any sentient being can travel backwards or forwards through time consciously? No, because we nor none of the machinery we will ever be able to build has the computive value to be able to predict where we're going to end up.
I bet it doesn't have the mechanical makeup to make it through space travel or time travel.
Plus,
you would break things down at the atomic rate.
That's the other side effect, is once you're moving in such a fashion, you would literally have to have a field to isolate you from all of the heat you would be generating.
If you're
which
moving at all, I don't think. If you was talking about time travel, I don't think this object itself would move. You'd be moving time around it.
You would still have to move. Because
something would have to move.
No. If you wanted to travel back in time...
I'm not going nowhere.
If you wanted to travel back in time 50 years...
It's like this. You're not traveling... Are you traveling when you get up on a train?
No, the train is.
The train is, exactly. But you're moving with the acceleration.
You're moving through the space and time of the train.
Yeah, of the train. So you're like in a box. You're not moving.
You're moving space and time around you.
Exactly.
What I just said.
Now,
exactly.
Follow with me on this one. In order for you to time travel back 50 years, yes, you could go back 50 years without physically moving, but you wouldn't land where you wanted to land, because 50 years ago, the Earth was not in the same place that it is, and therefore, if you physically did not move, but moved...
But we're still in the train, so I don't understand how it wouldn't be on Earth.
Because you would be outside of the scope of the train at that point.
You would be actually technically in a different dimension.
That's because time travel is not possible.
Well,
that's one of the things that make it unfeasible.
Okay, you know how on something like that,
time travel would be possible. There'd be evidence of it somewhere at some point.
Well, there's lots of things that actually there's a theory on. I don't know if it's real or not. There's a couple of research that people that actually made a lot of money in the stock market, and I think it's just like the internet type urban legend type thing. There was a guy that was assaulted by the FBI and investigated on, and they were talking to him about a possibility of stocks. What's with the stocks? The insider trading.
Yeah.
And in doing that, he basically told him he was a time traveler. He already knew what was going to go on. Technically, that's insider trading. But in the long run, they found the guy. They released him. They figured that he was just, crazy. And then later down the road, they couldn't find the guy. They went to his house. They went everywhere. There was no identification of this person being real.
I remember that story.
Yeah. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just, internet legend and everything. might be a possibility that we are being visited by time travelers, like we're being visited by aliens. There's certain things that in our lives that in all reality you can't bring your minds to, because we could have aliens here, and there's actually evidence that we've had aliens here. Now, is it true or not? No. You either have to take up the basic fact of what the actual person is saying. It's like, okay,
Take a person's word for gold.
yeah, you can do that. You can say what's there. Go with the data what's there. But you can also go with the data of a deductive reasoning. Okay? There's sometimes you take what's not there. What's their story missing? What's this missing from this section? We have photographs. They're grainy of actual alien spacecrafts.
Well,
And we actually have documents that actually say that we've had alien. Okay, I won't say alien. We'll just go with UFO, because UFO is unidentified flying object, or something that's we cannot explain at that point in time. Now, we have that. We have documents upon documents of different countries having the same thing, to where we have an object that's in our atmosphere that cannot be explained at that point in time.
well, this is definitely true, but
And what you're saying, though, is
well,
the possibility of that is...
what I'm saying is that would be a massive conspiracy cover-up. If, in other words, think about it like this: if you've got 5 people in a conspiracy,
That's what it takes.
it's easy to hush 5 people.
Yeah.
If you've got 10,000 people in a conspiracy,
Okay, O'Hare. Here's another instance of an actual UFO sighting. O'Hare Airport in 2006.
Well, see,
what happened there?
I don't disagree that there are UFOs. I don't disagree that there are things that the majority of the public is not understanding. Why would the military even bother covering up unidentified flying objects? I mean, hell, right now they have airplanes in the United States military that are literally capable of coming in at Mach 2 and almost stopping on a dime, flipping inverted, and going the other fucking direction.
And landing straight.
That is a UFO if we fly it in any other country, because we're using technology that we haven't released to them.
They changed the nomenclature to unexplained aerial phenomenon. Doesn't mean that it's unidentified. It means that they're not explaining what we're seeing.
Exactly.
So
Now,
I do believe that
furthermore, all of the research that various independent organizations have put into trying to find out about these claims usually comes up with one of 3 scenarios. One, the person...
you talking about MUFON or the CIA or
I'm
what kind of
talking about
individual organizations?
independent organizations.
The MUFON is one.
I'm not talking about any specific individual in other words, I don't know the names of any
Okay.
people or places, but I do know that there are people that are not supported by the government. They're not supported by... They're individual, private...
Independent contractors.
Basically. And I haven't taken up their names.
Investigators.
Most of these freelance investigators or independent contractors have all come to the conclusion that they can't find any physical evidence to back up any of the claims. A lot of them, I said it was a doctor of psychology, was showing that many of the people who claim alien abductions, when you finally get them down to a certain point, they don't know if they were actually abducted, and most of what they're recalling is stuff that they've seen in movies or that they've heard from other people. 9 out of 10 of these can be washed away,
Very much so.
but that doesn't mean that one person left over isn't
wrong.
telling the truth. That just means, or that because we can say that one person left over is telling the truth, that doesn't mean that their truth is necessarily
100% accurate.
right.
Right, that's
So-
exactly what...
Well, all I'm saying is before you jump into some conspiracy theory and say, oh, there's aliens and the government's hiding it from us, perhaps you should look at the wider spectrum and say, these are the facts that I can get my hands on. This is the information that I can get my hands on. How much of that information points toward this possibility, and how much of that information points toward this possibility? How much of this information that I can get my hands on can I verify to be at least relatively accurate? And once you start piecing together all of the information in a correct fashion, you'll come to realize that, yes, there's a lot of things we don't know, but each person is reasonable to make their own decision on how they feel and how they believe on these things. But until said alien comes and picks you up and takes you for a ride in their spaceship, or until the government comes out and
Isn't that
says,
the Chinese president that came out and was like, I was abducted and they took me to Venus
until...
Well, that's actually another thing I was listening to is...
there's a space force.
There's so many theories on like how we got populated on Earth. I mean, there was one that was it was some tribe that actually said that they were actually descendants of people of Mars.
I know that in Australia they have a tribe of Aborigines, and they have cave drawings that actually go back to I can't remember the dates on any of that, but yeah, let's just say they've got cave drawings with people in spacesuits.
Yeah.
Big heads, big eyes. It's just that what they draw. It doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't mean anything specific.
You ever seen a 5-year-old's drawings? Yeah, I would look like an alien if you looked at my daughter's.
Well, I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying that
tribe.
Is it?
No, this is the one. This is the tribe in Africa. The Dogon tribe.
The Dogons, they believe that their gods came down from this constellation Sirius B.
Yeah.
And they were a water people, and the name they gave them actually means ugly people. So but that also came out translated by a guy that claimed to have been living there for several years to gain their trust. But he published it in whatever language around the same time that they were talking about the possibility of Sirius B having a dual star system. So I mean that whole theory is possible that it's not even true.
My whole statement here is,
it's nice to look at though.
Yeah.
Instead of just following along with whatever conspiracy theory you follow or find, research, do a little bit of investigation onto what they're saying and see if the numbers support it. See if...
Well, you actually have to have like a whole wall with that stuff half the time. You have a lot of research. I mean, I know you did a lot of research on alien affairs of who've actually gotten abducted, their stories, and there is so much. I mean, you would have a book about that big of actually all the.
I can't remember the numbers, but I think there was like 80,000 reports a year or some shit like that. And that's so. Yeah, you would have to go through and check the credibility of each one of them.
You don't have to check the credibility of each one of them. You only have to check the credibility of the people reporting them.
That too. That is actually true.
Once you check the credibility of the people reporting them, you move from there. You can cut your numbers almost by a quarter.
So are I'm trying to get to the bottom. Are you saying that I believe in aliens? You're saying that I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I'm not saying you're a conspiracy theorist.
You just,
I am saying that there are a lot of things that you need to...
I don't even believe in aliens.
That's pretty bad.
I'm saying that there are a lot of things that you need to check into if you want to go
Roswell
down
happen?
that road.
Did Roswell happen? What happened at Roswell?
Well,
that is a case that happened. There is.
If you want to take the military's explanation for it,
I
was
have
a weather
CIA
balloon.
documents that shows the crash debris being picked up in Roswell, New Mexico, and carried to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There is paper trails that you can go online to CIA.gov and print out screenshots of whatever you want to have. But they come through Texas. I don't remember what the Air Force Base was in Texas.
You also have...
So something happened. What happened?
and then this
It
is what
doesn't
I'm
know.
getting
We
at.
don't know what happened.
You also have
Who-
declassified. You also have
Wow,
declassified information
Disinformation.
from one of the generals that were on the site that said it was a weather balloon. But since the general public made the assumption that it was a spacecraft, and since that weather balloon had highly classified material on it, they went ahead and they let the public speculate.
Smoke and mirrors. You let them feed the fire.
And
their own destruction.
they just said nothing about it because it was
They let 'em
easier
run
to
with it.
hide the
Hiding in plain
the
sight.
technology
'Cause they don't
that
wanna
they had
believe.
crashed on that weather balloon.
Exactly. So where did it come from? What was it that crashed, and where did it come from?
The general said he could not reveal what it was, but
Or the
that
material.
it was a U.S. government, specifically I think it was U.S.
It's
Army.
actually quite closer to Walker Air Force Base than it was Roswell, New Mexico. It's
Right.
3 miles from Roswell or Walker Air Force Base is where the crash happened. Then it was 7 miles from Roswell, New Mexico. So it's actually closer to the Air Force Base. And they couldn't find it because of the storm or some shit. They didn't have the technology they have today to track it as it was flying or crashing. So no, I do not think that it was aliens. I do not think that a being from another planet came through and crashed in our atmosphere. The claim is, if you research it enough, the claim is that it actually collided with another spacecraft of another group of grays that was found years later. So, no, I don't. How many crashes? There was a crash in '78 in Wichita Falls. Did you hear about that? I can show you the headlines.
Hold on.
Me personally, I'm gonna write them
I've never
all
heard of it.
off until I've got a piece of it in my hand.
There is military documentations of the crash that happened 4 miles west of Wichita Falls in 1978.
And
And there is it, but it is not. They're never going to call it extraterrestrial, but there was a crashed
craft.
right.
Just
There was
like
a
they were saying that what happened in Roswell, after a good bit of it got declassified, was
That
a
was-
weather balloon carrying highly sensitive equipment.
Okay, but the parts of the military that was told to run with the story of a crashed saucer with bodies was told to run it through the news that day was also retracted their statement the next day. So they let them run with the idea that there was crashed alien craft out in the field for a whole day before they were like, no, man, nothing happened. So they started the idea and then took it away to like create doubt,
Now-
which is going to fuel the fire.
Now, if I were to let my curiosity get the better of me, I would still be curious what the hell that weather balloon was carrying that they really didn't want anybody looking into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if the claims are true and what the military is hiding is 50 years beyond anything that we know today, what if they were playing with drones or some kind of aerial craft that we're using today in Afghanistan, manless drones blowing shit up?
Well, that's what I was saying.
I
Right.
just think that it's advanced technology.
And
Where
I
did
can,
it come from?
I can tend to agree with that it is advanced technology. Where it
And
came
they're all
from,
around military bases.
I don't have a good answer for you on where it came from. It could be that we've got some really highly intelligent mofo that's taken some of that math and science that we're so proud of and turned it into something that we couldn't even fathom to imagine at a good level.
There is a culture that writes down a lot of math and science and a lot of their history, and it's the Hindus. If you Google the word Vimana and look up its origins, what will you find on it?
It's a good question.
What is it?
Vimana. Vimana. And also at the same
What is it?
time,
V-I-M-N-A.
Mana.
M-A-N-A.
He touched an A, I seen it.
I'm dyslexic.
So the
as hell.
Vimanas in the Hindu mythologies,
Okay,
one
what
of
is
the-
this? Okay, Vimane.
Vimana. Vimana. Mana.
Okay, what is this exactly?
It is a flying castle that is from old Hindu Sanskrit. Palaces of the gods, Vishnu and Karna.
I remember that in a video game I played once.
So one of their symbols that you will find in a lot of Hindu or Indian artifacts is the swastika. The swastika was invented by Hitler, and you can't convince anybody that nowadays, but Hitler didn't come up with that.
It was inverted.
Isn't it inverted in all of their stuff versus what we're familiar with?
Because we have the same thing. If you actually go downtown, Wichita Falls, you'll see a lot of the swastikas. But it's reverse. It's the actual Nazi.
I don't know.
I can show you.
But if you look into Hitler's SS regime, and he did what you call Project Anarchy and Ancestral Heritage, and he looked into all kinds of what is the word? Occults,
Mm-hmm.
mythologies, belief systems. They raided a lot of these artifacts and stuff. I think it's not beyond possibility that they come across the information and technology involved in these craft. If maybe there was an advanced technology back thousands of years ago that we've forgotten about or misplaced.
Oh, I don't disagree with you on
And
that even
maybe,
one bit.
maybe they found a craft and they were trying to reverse engineer the technology that they used. So then you're reverse engineering ancient technology instead of alien technology. And instead of using the word ancient, you just throw the word alien on it. Nobody wants to believe that. And they'll let the government let them run with it. I think that that's a more possible explanation than fucking...
I would tend to agree with you there that is a more plausible explanation than we're getting visited. Because, realistically, you've got a race of advanced aliens that are capable of traversing from wherever the heck they're traversing from to here. Why would they want to come to this backwater podunk area? What are they making, a sitcom?
Unless life may have started on Mars, life may have originated on Mars, and if something happened along the solar system wise, and
I bet they come close and they just go up and it's like, pack it up.
yeah.
Pack it up.
What was that meme I saw where the man was going to the moon and they're like, fuck, they're spreading. Yeah.
But
Whatever, right? It is what it...
I think that
It's fun to speculate, if anything.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look at the technology that we can see throughout history, there's a lot of things that we really need to be questioning. Like they say that the pyramids were built in a certain amount of time, but I
25 years.
guarantee.
Like Khufu, whatever the fuck his
Well,
name is.
not even that. The Sphinx itself was supposed to be like 9,000.
They think that it was, yeah.
But what I'm getting at is they say that the pyramids were built in a X number of days in a certain amount of time, and I guarantee you take all of the construction equipment that we've got right now.
No, we couldn't do it in fucking 30 years.
We couldn't do it in 100 years, and we couldn't do it to the level of precision that they put that shit together.
Exactly.
Unless we poured
Well,
it.
we just now actually learned how the Romans made concrete. Their concrete, which is like 10 times better than our concrete, and all they really did was add in volcanic ash.
You go back into the Hindus, the Hinduisms, I don't fucking know what the correct terminology is, but they have a tar substance that they use to hold their bricks together. That they've got two bricks that are like 10 ton, 100 to fucking 20 tons that are glued on the ends, and the only thing holding them together is the fucking tar, and it's been there for 7,000 years.
We don't even know about.
We don't have that. We don't have that kind of technology today. What the fuck were they using that long ago?
Yeah, that and like Greek fire.
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
Cooking grease. It wasn't actually on fire. It was just really fucking hot.
Phosphorus.
I mean, it could have been white phosphorus.
Phosphorus and magnesium,
they
a
didn't
little
have
bit of
that at the
petroleum
time.
distillate.
I don't know what it was,
But
the ideas behind it was pretty.
they
cool.
did have petroleum at the time. They were drilling wells and pulling crude oil from the ground. Now, they weren't distilling it the way we distill it. The most they would have been getting would have been a mixture of crude oil and petroleum jelly, because petroleum jelly will distill on its own.
Right.
But
Still flammable.
you take white phosphorus and you combine it with petroleum jelly, and what the hell have you got? Something you ain't gonna put out with water. But that's speculation.
Since you
Again,
can't get off either. It's like there you go.
again, this is stuff I cannot sit here and say I have a clue about. I don't research history. I don't research.
No, people don't do enough, and that's the thing is we're really missing the point of history. The archaeologists say that we come from cavemen and that we came from monkeys and
Well,
in this amount of time. But
technically,
doesn't make
no.
sense.
You're misinterpreting the way that they're saying that. They're saying that the monkeys are technically our cousins, and that not that we came from monkeys, but that we come from a common ancestor, and that we are a different branch in the same
Right.
family line. And in all technicality, it's not monkeys, it's apes. Because monkeys are a further cousin than apes are.
Well, actually, monkeys are, right now they're actually using a lot more tools, so they're actually hitting the bronze.
Chimps.
Yeah.
They're using
And,
spears and shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that being said, I'm not going to claim I know what happened 100 years ago.
Fucking clue.
I'm not going to claim I know what happened 1,000 years ago. You know what? I wasn't there.
I will state the claim that what happened in Roswell. Let me learn how to talk. Let me relearn how to talk. I will make the claim that what happened in Roswell was something.
Oh, I agree with you.
And
What
that-
happened in Roswell was definitely something. Something happened.
The idea of aliens coming from the pop culture of the time. There was books, there was stories.
Oh,
The idea of
Don't-
people coming from Mars was a spectacular idea.
don't get me wrong. I would love for there to be aliens, just like I would love for it to
I
be
want to believe, just like X-Files. I want to believe.
Just
but
like I
there's
would
nothing
love for it
support
to be mathematically possible to time travel. But quite frankly, I don't believe we will ever have enough computing power to predict, even if, and like I said, this is just my personal belief, even if time is a two-directional road and that you can go forward and backward, you still have to know where you're going, which means you'd have to have a massive map. And then you'd have to take that massive map, and it wouldn't just be a three-dimensional map, it'd be a four-dimensional map. Because you're now calculating time along with your physical space location.
The only way time travel in a physical sense would be possible is if you could ever harness the speed of light. And if you were to travel at the speed of light, your rate of time will stay constant
No.
while you travel through space, according to Einstein. It's time, relativity, whatever.
Well, and here's another thing, though, and this is not my original theory. This is something I stumbled across, but I agree with. I believe the speed of light is relative.
To what? Light?
The speed of light is relative to the object producing the light.
Okay.
In other words, as we're here on Earth and all objects are moving
Mm-hmm.
with Earth, any object on Earth producing that light is going to travel at 186,000 miles per second from its source of projection to the next point, so long as all of those points are correctly moving along with the Earth.
You're using light waves as a source of molecular. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
But no.
What if it's sound? What if sound is the thing that holds all things together? We're riding waves.
Well,
We're light waves, radio waves, X-rays. What if sound waves are the ways that the vibrations that hold everything together?
you
Atoms
can
and molecules,
technically use sound waves to tear things apart.
or hold them together. What if the things that hold our molecules and our atoms together in our bodies and on the planet is from the waves of the sun?
What if it's
The further
from,
we get away from our sun, the further we are from the waves.
Well,
What if we just implode? We cease to be.
What if the source of gravity, which is most commonly accepted to be the mass of an object, is supposed to be the source of its gravity?
So that you're saying that we could generate our own gravity?
We do generate our own gravity.
So if we're floating around in space and we spit, it's going to stay on our body?
Well, in theory, the propulsion from spitting would push it away faster than our gravity is going to pull it back.
If right. So it's if I
But
spit
if
it.
but if we made a blob of water and we got close enough to it, it would pull into us.
It's possible. I can see that.
Now, the larger the mass of an object,
The more pull it would have.
the more pull it has. Now, there are materials out there we haven't discovered that have a high mass but a low physical presence. In other words, they could, in theory, be the size of a dime and spherical, but have the same amount of
density.
mass as the whole Earth.
Right. The density. Right. I get that.
Those would almost be what you would call a black hole creator.
Or just something.
Now, there's different theories on black holes, and there's different theories on a lot of this. But anyways, back to what I was saying about light. If you were to take an object, right, and you were to accelerate it to half the speed of light,
Okay.
now you put a light on the front of that object, and you turn that light on.
And it's barely going to be behind its own light source.
Well, you're still going to be going half the speed of light, so that the light can come out.
But you're still going to be slowly following behind it. Is it going to be swallowing its own light? It spits it out and takes it back. Is that how it's going to work?
Which would
You're spitting half
which
the
would
speed
in
of light.
which would in theory state that the speed of that light is relative to the object here. So therefore, the speed the light is leaving this object, which is traveling at half the speed of light, it's leaving from here at 186,000 miles per second. But the light is actually traveling much faster than that in comparison to an object that's standing still here. So as the light and the object itself passes the perfectly stationary object.
So what you're proposing is that you can project the speed of light. Not project. Catapult the speed of light. If you're moving at said speed, holding your own constant, and you shoot light off, it's going to move at the speed of light plus what you're going.
Right. And this is not technically my
So if you were
theory.
going twice the speed, all right, I understand your theory. So
This
if you're
is what-
going twice the speed of light and you generate your own light, the light source that you're shooting off is going to be shooting at 3 times the speed of light.
Right. You're not going to pass your own light.
What if you did? Like you flash your light, but you've already passed the source, and then your image flies through, because that's being what they see would be your image. Because it only.
Wouldn't that make a conundrum for things in the universe as a
It's-
whole, though?
It's almost like watching Back to the Future. You
It
can only
would-
go back and fuck everything up so many times.
It would be violating everything that we currently understand if we hold that the speed of light is a fixed constant rather than a variable constant. I'm just saying that there is a
Are there any fixed
proposed.
constants?
I'm just saying that the proposed theory indicates that the speed of light is a variable constant, not a fixed constant.
Right.
And it's variable relative to the speed of the object
Projected,
and the
whatever.
speed of the movement system. In other words, if I'm driving a car holding a flashlight, well, the Earth is rotating at a certain speed. The speed of that car is not going to change the fact that the light coming from that car is going to move away from that car at 186,000 miles per second. What allows us to perceive that the speed of light moving away from its source is 186,000 miles per second is that we're all in a closed environment, the Earth. But if we were in space, and we had a perfectly stationary object that we could come past to
So-
measure,
A good way to.
the person projecting that light would still observe that that light is moving at 186,000 miles per second. Because relative to the person or object producing that light is still moving at 186,000 miles per second. But relative to the stationary object that it just passed by, it's moving at 186,000 miles per second, plus whatever speed the object projecting it was.
So the person that you just passed, the object that you just passed, would never have seen the light source you were emitting. I don't think that would, because it would mean like if you're riding a bullet and you fire a gun. Is the bullet ever going to leave the chamber, or will it actually go twice the speed of a bullet? Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting theory. It's fun to speculate.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's a theory I've come across that I believe is plausible or possible, but I'm not saying that that's
It is one way or
100%
the
the
other.
way it is,
Right.
because I have no way to test it. I don't have enough money nor enough scientists that I could put in my pocket.
So that would be it would be fair. Yeah. So it would be fair to say that time travel is about as possible as light travel, light speed travel, traveling at the speed of light.
Yeah.
We can't do it. We can't fathom the mechanics behind doing something like that.
And we
Right
probably
now.
wouldn't survive it anyways because of the heavy gravity.
Right, and then there was that. Remember I said earlier that the closer you approach to the speed of light, the
But
more your
here's the
mass
thing-
increases?
Here's a question
Well-
though, and Michael will probably have a conniption about it. What if we create something that was negative gravity?
Theoretically, it's possible.
Yeah. And if we created negative gravity, couldn't we go faster than the speed of light? Because we're actually, instead of going, having G's,
Well,
we're
that's-
getting going
well,
into negatives.
That's actually one of the theories that they proposed, is building a ship that can both generate negative gravity and positive gravity, so that the negative gravity is behind the ship and the positive gravity is in front of the ship, and the ship itself is encapsulated in an energy field to dissipate the heat that this entire situation would produce. And what happens is because you've got positive gravity and negative gravity, you're technically physically bending and rippling space, and thereby causing the ship to kind of skip like a rock across
read
the
that
ripples
theory.
in space. Now, that being said, they've only theorized about the existence of said material capable of producing reverse gravity. In other words, pushing objects away from it. They do have some mathematical formulas that say that it might be possible, but they aren't 100% sure, and they're still working on the math. They have no way to finalize it, no way to conclude it. It literally is just a floating theory.
That's all it will ever be.
Until
It's declassified.
And until they show in a lab that they can say, we have physically observed this phenomenon caused by this, this, and this, then yes, it's just a theory. And that was kind of one of the arguments I was making earlier, is
That would be
I
what
don't
this
know
entire
how-
subject is a theory. UFOs, aliens, the entire
Right.
phenomenon.
and me personally, I like to speculate. But as far as my day-to-day life goes, I'm not going to jump down any conspiracy rabbit hole. And there's a lot of people who do that. Like, I was using that statement in general earlier.
Right.
I wasn't referring to you, but I was referring to people in general, as I've run across a lot of them who sit there and go,
Crackpots.
yeah,
Wow. Like
5G is brainwashing you. Dude, do you know what 5G is? No, but it's like, it's killing you. It's causing cancer and brainwashing people. It's just another bandwidth added to the blasted thing. It's like saying, okay, my radio can receive radio stations on 106, 107, 108, and 109.
You're just gonna get clear stations.
Well, it's not just that. It's your early radio could only get 106. That was the only station your early radio could get.
Oh,
Well-
there's also it also causes mind control apparently to Google too.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. It's mind control. It's brainwash, manipulation.
Yeah.
Anyways, your early radio could only get channel 106, but then they came out with a better radio and a better
Our TV
transmitter.
channel can only get like 3 channels.
Then they came out with a better one that, could get 106 and 107. That's the difference between 2G and 3G. The difference between 3G and 4G is 106, 107, and 108. It can get all three at the same time,
Well, they
and it
also
can
wanted
receive
to say-
data from all three.
They also wanted to say that for the longest time with power lines. I mean, power lines do cause some stuff, but not to the degree that they're
They
talking
do cause electromagnetic radiation. And I have seen electromagnetic radiation cause abnormal growth in plant life.
And it can cause cancer in certain individuals with sick cells. It is.
But
Can you blame it all entirely on the power lines?
you get
Water
more,
they're drinking,
You
Yeah,
get
sodas they're drinking, the fucking processed food they're eating.
You get more
No, yeah.
electromagnetic
You
radiation standing out in the freaking sun than you do standing under a power line.
That's
Say that,
well, unless you're standing out under the power line in the sun.
say that to the squirrel that blew up over here.
That was not electromagnetic radiation. That was direct infusion of electrons.
Dude, that was so funny seeing that Molotov rat tail.
Molotov squirrel.
Molotov squirrel. Alright, I guess we could end it on that note. I'm David Dickerman.
I'm Michael Moffitt.
This is Kenny Northrup, and this is Angry Me Productions. Thank you for watching.